so welcome to Conversations with Denise. We are back. Last week, I closed out with reminding you that this week, we're going to be picking right up. We continue the conversation from last week. My guest is Mr. Umar Abdul-Hakeem. He is a retired police officer, sergeant, and internal affairs for the Newark Police Department. 25 years of service. Again, well, thank you, first of all, for that service. And then we were having a great discussion, and so we just continued this. So this week's conversation, we're just going to pick right back up where we left off. And we left off talking about a vital point, that police officers are human. You know, we don't want to see them as disposable, collateral damage. Right. Or you chose that job, and so that's what comes with the job. Oh, it's a whole lot of jobs that, you know, the end could be mortality, or the end could be a really bad ending, but we don't want to see that happen to anybody. You know, we need our firemen, but we don't say, well, you choose to get burned up today. Right. You know, so we don't want people thinking with the mindset that police are disposable, that we can, you know, that's their job. Yeah, okay, they chose it. We don't want that mindset. And so today we're going to continue talking about how we could help educate people on who policemen really are. Because you're a father. Yes. You're a husband. Yes. But you also served us for 25 years in the inner city. Yes. And so, and you're a son. Yes. And so all of those people in your life, you know, were watching, I'm sure, looking, I'm sure, waiting and expecting for you to come home at the end of the day. Yes. Okay? Same thing when we look at those that are offenders. I think policemen should see them as individuals as well, because that is somebody's son. Although he may be committing a violent crime, or he may be committing a not so violent crime, but how they approach the situation. I think if you see them as, this is someone's son, this is someone's father, take a second thought before your next move. Yes. What do you have? And, you know, I've always said, and again, we're not, I don't want to blow the police up, you know, like they're just untouchable. But, you know, I was talking to someone a couple Sundays ago. I was at church, and they were talking about the situation that's going on and how police are just wrong and they're just aggressive. And I said, how many jobs do you know, not the military, where a person has to put on a bulletproof vest to go to work? To go to work, right. So she looked at me. I said, only the police. Right. Only the police. You know, they're expected to go to work, but they have to protect themselves too, because some agencies, it's mandatory. Wow. You know, and then, like you said, you have, every time a person gets killed, that's one parent, that's one less child a parent can love anymore. You know, I'll never forget one night, years ago, I was working in patrol, and anybody from New Jersey knows 16th Avenue, there's a big park called West Side Park. So I'm working, and we're driving up the street, and I see two people in the park, and you think that they're probably engaging in some type of illegal activity, drug activity. So we get out the car, and we see two guys. One guy's obviously high. Okay. And I recognize him as a kid that we played ball together. Okay. So, you know, he's in and out. And then he recognized me. I said, listen, man, you got to go. Right. You know, you got to get out the car. You're a police officer at this time. Right. I'm a police. I'm working. Okay. And I said, listen, Hawk, you got to go. Right. So he said, okay, well, Mom, you know, my bad. I'm trying to get my life together. He didn't have anything on him. The other guy didn't have anything on him. Maybe I missed it. Right. Or it was going to happen, but needless to say, they left. Right. So I work a double. I work 16 hours this day. Now it's about 1 o'clock in the morning, and we get a call of a person shot. Now it's raining. So we respond up to Stuyvesant Avenue and 18th Avenue, and I'll never forget, when we got there, it was a guy shot face down. So EMS, the ambulance is up there, and it was so prevalent the guy stuck his finger in the back of the guy's head, this much.
Wow.
So I'm looking, I'm like, first of all, why are you doing that?
Right.
But when he flipped him over, it was the guy that I seen early in the day.
Somebody's child.
Somebody's child. So now
you knew.
And I know him.
Right.
So the first thing came to my mind is his mother seen him early in the day.
Yeah.
How is she gonna react when she get that call?
Right.
You know.
Right.
And
that's what I think a lot of people don't take into account, that we have to see each individual as a person.
Yes.
Although they might not be the best people, but you still have to see them as a person. And like when we saw those videos we talked about earlier, or that how you handle a situation, it can escalate or you can de-escalate it just by how each person responds. And that's where the education piece comes in. How communities should see police officers and how police officers see those within the community.
Yes.
I think that's very important. The other thing that I wanted to kind of touch on is you said when you first started, your first assignment was in your neighborhood.
Vailsburg, New Jersey.
Vailsburg, New Jersey. That was my neighborhood too for a little bit. But I wanted to ask you, we talked about community policing.
Yes.
Now, would that be considered community policing, being in the neighborhood? Talk to us about that. Let's educate people on that.
Yes. Well, if I can talk about for me.
Yeah.
I was somehow something had happened, so they took me out the radio car, and I thought it was punishment because now they put me on a walking post.
Do police officers even still walk?
I did. Listen, I walked. Years ago, this was a big. Years ago when we talk about training.
Yeah.
Before I came on, that was a prerequisite. You had to walk a beat. They gave you a key to a key box because that was your way of checking in where you were at certain times.
Okay.
All right. So say during the 80s or the 70s, before you even sat in a radio car, you had to walk the beat.
Wow.
So now you coming in and I'm working in Vailsburg and I come on the job, we go straight to the radio car.
Okay.
Right? So you telling me I got to walk the beat, I'm thinking I'm being punished.
Right.
But I tell you, when you talk about I cheated because I'm working actually the street I live on, a 3-4 block area. But you talk about knowing everything that's going on. You know the players. You know the people that's in school. You had little kids running up to you saying, "Hey, Umar, can you buy me something to eat?"
Right.
So it's personal.
Yeah.
You have an intimate relationship with the people. I get involved in a shooting in that area in 1993, and a guy that we had arrested maybe 2 months ago was right there. And he came downtown and gave a statement on the three of me and my two partners' behalf.
Wow.
Now, you don't hear that.
A citizen from that community.
A citizen who who we arrested for drugs months ago, prior. Test came down and gave a statement.
On your behalf.
On our behalf, because we seen him every day.
Yeah.
And we treated him with respect and with dignity. You mean...
Right.
If you did something, you went to jail. Do your job, but we didn't disrespect.
Right.
They didn't disrespect us.
Right. And the community knew you. I'm sure they felt a lot safer knowing that this Officer Umar, Officer Hakeem, and his partner walking down. I'm safe. I feel a lot safer.
Constant dialogue every day.
Yeah.
Constant dialogue. You talk about everything.
And I think with the lack of police officers in the communities, walking amongst the people, knowing the citizens, it doesn't make it easier for citizens to maybe come forth when something does happen.
You're right.
We're going to come back and we're going to talk about that, how citizens within the community, how we can help the police by knowing who our police officers are in our community. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the great things that's happening right here in our city of Jacksonville. I'll be right back after this break. Women are the vessels of the world's generations. The value that a woman holds cannot be priced. On November 10th through the 12th, we will discover the real value of a woman. Generational curses will be broken, enabling generational blessings to be released. Join me, Lady D. Williams, along with a host of other inspiring women as we embark on a journey together to rediscover what it means to be a generational changer.
Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, women, who walked with God and walked before us, women whose feet beat paths and paved roads for the women who would come after them, who bore children and carried crosses, who carried hopes and prayers and dreams. For them, life was a womb, a place to carry calling until it's ready to be born. We've heard the songs. We've heard the sermons and the messages. We've seen a glimpse of what God can do, but what will we do? How will we take the words we've heard, give them bones, muscles, feet, until they seep not only into the words we speak, but into the lives we live? We want to be women who in the face of evil refuse to be polite. God is saying to us, do not be afraid. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Be strong and courageous when you lead and when you work, when you love and when you care, when life seems like too much to bear, when you write, speak, create, when you have to wait, when you want to cuss, when it's hard to trust. Be strong and courageous.
Okay, so we're back, and we spent the last few moments talking about how having police presence in the communities helps with the citizens in that community feeling a lot more comfortable, more safe. The police officers getting to know those in the communities that they're working in, and I think that's something that's been long lost amongst our police officers. A lot of times, there is a video though, however, on Facebook, and I'm just remembering of there's a police officer at the end of his shift every day. He goes to this neighborhood and he sits down. He plays games with the young boys there. He brings them ice cream. He brings them candy. When it's really hot, he has the hydrant turned on for them. And it's something that they're expecting because they know him. And so a lot of times when we have police officers in our environments, we're expecting something from them. It makes us a lot more comfortable with having them in there. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about today was some of the programs that our policemen bring to our inner cities. And you and I have discussed a couple of them. One of them is the
Explorers Program.
Explorers Program. Talk to us a little bit about what that is.
Well, the Explorers Program is a program for kids, I want to say from the ages of 11 to maybe 17, where they it's like paramilitary. You know, they march, they do drills, they ride along with police officers. Right. They kind of learn what it's like to be a police officer, and what the hopes is that it piques the interest, you know, because the problem is at the end of the day, if we want to police our areas, we need to become the police.
Right, and a lot of years ago, lots of years ago, that was the aspiration of a lot of children. I want to go up and be a policeman. Right. I want to go up and be a fireman. I want to go up and be a doctor. Those are all community providers. Right. And that's what I think is missing. And I think it's missing because they've been removed.
We got the video era now. You know, we got Facebook, YouTube. You know,
social media
is glamorizing these athletes when they're making $7 and $8, $10 million. The rappers making all this money. So why am I gonna go to work? And go work 9 to 5,
or protect and serve, or help my community,
when I can be something that there's only a small percentage. You know, you got 12 people on a basketball team. There's 30 teams, so you do the math. That's 360. You got 3 million people who want to vie for one spot on a basketball team. You know, it's not even realistic.
But I think what has to happen, because I know here in the city of Jacksonville, our Sheriff Williams, he has some of those programs in place. He has the Explorers program that's through our community affairs here in the city of Jacksonville. I spoke to one of the chiefs here, Chief Burton. He gave me some really good information on the Explorers program, the CSO program. That's a paid program for those interested 18 or over. It's community service officers. I think that's something that our young people need to be aware of. That hey, this is an entrance. This is something you can learn about how to be instrumental and to help your community.
In that CSO position, I don't know, but is it a paid position?
It's a paid position. It's a paid, so you make money while learning how to be. It's an entrance into the police academy. Now, when you and I were growing up, one of the big things that was going on, and it still is the PAL, Police Athletic League. And that's something that's run by the police. Okay, talk to us a little bit, because I think that's what most people hear.
And that's again, that's an avenue that gives you. It's good for the youth. It gives you something to do, and it's in a controlled environment. They have after-school programs, tutoring programs. They have basketball leagues, baseball leagues. But it puts you in a setting because the police run these organizations or these activities. So you get to see the cop in a different light. You know, they're coaching, you know, they're mentoring, they're tutoring.
And then they become human. They become realistic. They become a real person to you.
It's not that person you see driving down the street in the blue uniform handcuffing somebody.
They become real to you, a real person. So we know the problem is there is crime in the inner city. No doubt. No matter what state you're in, if you find an inner city, you're going to find similar or same crimes. That's happening. We need citizen and community involvement. There's a lack thereof of people being involved within the communities, making sure that if something happens or something goes down, that they feel comfortable enough to say something about it. Right?
And you know, and it's good that you bring it up, because what happens is we're in a culture that we see, and it's twofold. One is you don't want to be considered a snitch. The other thing is just fear, because you see it going on every day, and I don't want to be the one to do something because I don't know the mindset of the cop. Is the cop going to tell me, well, yes, Umar said that Bill told that you was the shooter. You know, so now that just creates a fear. It creates a big problem of trust. You know, but we as this community have to take a stance, because you know who's selling the drugs. You know who's doing the stick-ups. You know the guy that shot Miss Williams' son. You know, but the police, again, have to come up with a way to first get the people to trust them. You know, all right, so I'm not going to come pick you up. I'm not going to pick you up and put you in a radio car and take you downtown. I'll meet you at the church. You know, we get community activists,
of meetings,
and we'll get the information that we need. But it has to be the trust factor that I'm not going to tell that you did it. I mean, it's going to come out when it's time to go to court. But you know, let them find out then. And you, as a police department, give that person some sense of security that there's not going to be retaliation.
And I think so. I think that the antidote that we're coming up with is that there has to be a police presence, one, policing in our communities.
Right.
Our policemen have to be seen as individuals, as well as our police officers have to see those which would be considered offenders or suspects or criminals as individuals as well.
Right.
Mutual respect has to go on. And I know people say, well, mutual respect, you know, when they're doing a crime, there's still a person that has to be respected.
You treat them the way you want to be treated.
Even if, and because you are serving, you should. So having a police presence in our communities, police cultural diversity training, understanding how to communicate within the community, whatever community you're in, whether it's Latino, Asian, African American, or European, you want to know how to go into that community. But I think the biggest thing added to that is having a place where the community and the police officers come together.
Right.
Having a place where we can do town hall meetings and we can talk. We can just sit down and talk and say, hey, okay, this is how we as citizens feel, and this is what's going on, and then the police can give us feedback, but this is how you can do it.
Because like you're saying, if you just take, for instance, there's a lot of drugs going on on 5th Street. You live on 7th Street. You have the town meeting at the church on 9th Street.
Yeah.
We all come in there and start talking. If the police are doing their job, you know, somebody in there walk up to and say, you know, Officer Smith, it's Rodney that's selling the drugs.
Right.
You know, we don't have to make the forum, but you can walk up to him because I know who Rodney is.
And we're in the same place. We're in a mutual place.
Right.
It's a time where we come together as individual people within our community. I'm a citizen, you're a police officer, but it's our community.
That's right.
And it's this time we come and we voice our opinion. We have to take a break. We're going to be right back, and we're going to finish this conversation on today about crimes within our inner city. We're back after this message.
August 6th is the anniversary of the Voting Rights Act. People fought, people pledged, people sat in, people got arrested, people died, people were peaceful, people were violent, people were inspired, they were motivated, they were concerned, and they showed up and they made it possible for us right now to honor them and make sure that we register and pledge. Go to rockthevote.com and make sure that you register to vote and bring and speak truth to power this November. Your voice is what matters.
Okay, so we're back, and we were talking about the antidote. And the antidote, we both agree that it's not just police stop the crime. All of that's true and all that's necessary. But what we need to do, we need to have a mutual place where we can have a town hall meeting, maybe a church, where citizens as well as police officers feel comfortable enough to come together, know each other, and communicate the situations that's going on and talk about how they can bring crime down within their inner city. See each other as individuals, see each other as a son, a daughter, a mother, a father, a sister. See each other as a human so that we as the police force, we as citizens, we come together for our communities, and so we make sure that this next generation and the generation that's existing now, that we don't end up with what we've been seeing over these last 24, 18 months, 12 months, in any state, in any inner city. Umar, you have any last words that you want to share with our audience?
Yes, I think, it's two things. One, the first thing is let's hold the police accountable. So if you see something, every agency has an internal affairs division. So what you do, don't get confrontational. You know, if you feel like your rights are being violated or a cop is disrespecting you, what you do is, we want you to comply, and I'll tell you what to do to comply, but comply. Get his name. And never ask the cop for his name or his badge number, because that is just going to go down. But what you do, every police car has a number.
Okay.
So what you do is remember the time and the police car, the number of the car, and then you go to internal affairs and file a complaint. The other thing, when we looked at the video earlier in Texas with the female, The police officer told her several times, don't get out the car.
Right.
Don't get out the car.
Right.
If you get stopped by a police officer, you're not surprised. You know you're going to be stopped. So have your information ready. And if it's, God forbid, if it's at night, have your information ready. Cut the interior of your lights on. Have your hands on the steering wheel. Never go into the glove compartment. Even if he tells you to go into the glove compartment, let him do that.
Okay.
Let him go in the glove compartment.
Okay.
You know, have your information ready and just listen. If the man tells you, I stopped you because, don't argue with him.
Right.
All right? Because again, all you want is the car number.
Right.
Let it, keep your hands visible. Because in the police mind, the only thing can hurt you is not, well, the only way he can get hurt is not seeing your hands.
Right.
So always keep your hands visible, cut the interior lights on, and just do what he says.
Live to file a complaint.
Live to file a complaint.
Awesome. All right. Well, this has been a great conversation. I think it's one that's been much needed. And we'll be back with more conversations with Denise. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sure you'll be back again. We'll talk to you soon. Women are the vessels of the world's generations. The value that a woman holds cannot be priced. On November 10th through the 12th, we will discover the real value of a woman. Generational curses will be broken, enabling generational blessings to be released. Join me, Lady D. Williams, along with a host of other inspiring women as we embark on a journey together to rediscover what it means to be a generational changer.
Join Bishop Stan Williams and the Church 320 this and every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. on the west side of Jacksonville, Florida. Experience real praise. Come be a part of real worship and hear a real word to revolutionize your life. The Church 320 is an authentic worship experience. The Church 320 was voted Jacksonville's best place to worship. Join Bishop Stan this week.
Well, welcome back, and I appreciate you for sitting with me these last 2 weeks and just discussing the topic of crimes in our inner cities. The inner city is the same, no matter if you're in Newark, New Jersey, if you're in St. Louis, Missouri, no matter where you are, if you're in Ferguson, no matter where you are, it is an inner city, and they're the same crimes happening. We have the same results from a lot of our policemen within our communities, how they handle it. But what I think the antidote is that policemen, as well as citizens, need to come together, get educated about each other, get educated about the culture of police officers, citizens, and then policemen get educated about the culture that you are going into, that you're policing. And then let us come together as a community and let us talk to each other and let's talk amongst each other and let's have heart to heart what needs to happen, what's happening, and what's real in our inner cities. I think that's the antidote. I think that's what needs to happen. And I appreciate you for taking this time, being a part of this show. And I'll see you next time on Conversations with Denise.